Welcome to another episode of Chopping Up Raw. I am your host, Abdul the Barber, and we are back from a brief hiatus. Oh man, we got a great guest on today, man. I want to introduce y'all to my good friend, Romel. Romel, man, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Ain't no doubt, man.
Yeah, so just brought you on today to rap with you, dog. You know what I mean? Like always.
Like we always
you know
do,
what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
But just introduce yourself. You know what I mean? Let everybody know where you're from, what you got going.
All right, yeah, my name is Romel. I've lived in Japan for some years, long years. Originally from Detroit, man, been out here ever since.
Shout out to Detroit.
Detroit for sure. So I always enjoy coming up here and chopping it up with you, man. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Having me out here.
Hell yeah, love, bro, love. So your time here in Japan, dog, like what has it brought you as far as, you know, knowledge and different ups and downs and your journey?
Man, I tell you what, a lot of people think that like when you move somewhere, you learn a lot about where you live. But I think really you actually end up kind of learning a lot more about where you're from and what normal is, because normal is really subjective, right?
Right.
So I remember like when I first came over here, I felt like I learned that like things that I thought were normal weren't. Like I remember like having like a big ass Mountain Dew or some shit. Like when I was in high school, I'd be driving to school and it's so big it doesn't fit in my cup holder and I just got it sitting between my legs and I'm driving. And it's like, this shit is bigger than my head, bro. Like, that's not regular. Like, when I came over here and ordered like an L size, I was disappointed because it was
small,
like a medium.
right?
And I'm like, but then I'm like, I don't need all that. You know, so like, I think a lot of the stuff that I learned about like our society, like about like violence. And I used to think that like people, like society was incapable of living in kind of synchronicity and peace. But then, you know, you come here and you see like a 5-year-old riding the train by themselves. And it's just like, you have a different appreciation for it. It's mind blowing. It's like, if you do that in Detroit where I'm from, that's neglect, bro.
Amber alert.
Your parents get locked up, putting you on a bus by yourself. You crazy? So like, I think, I learned a lot about just the capacity of people and how people process things and, you know, the norms of society, I think, for sure.
Right. Do you see yourself here any longer than what you've been?
Man, what's crazy is I didn't even see myself here this long, bro.
Yeah.
Like originally I came over here for college, right? So I figured after I graduated, like I was gonna be going back to the States. I mean, I wasn't even like enamored with Japan like that, but it's funny how it works out. Like, you know, you followed the path of least resistance.
Right.
And that just it just ended up being 15 years or so.
Shit. Well, that's great, man. I'm glad everything's been working out, you know, for you, right?
Yeah.
And even me being here this long, the people I've met, it's a long list of, including yourself, of great people. And that's why I try to surround myself with people of your stature, of, you know, yourself, Double G, Cam, all them, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that we had that community here.
Yeah, you need that community, man. It's super important to actually feel like, because it makes it feel like home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're insulated with people that are like-minded, that understand your values, you feel less alone. And with technology now, it's like, even if you don't see your friends all the time, you're able to connect with them.
Right?
So the world just feels a lot smaller in that way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. So since you've been here, man, like with your everyday, like, I guess, life, we deal with Japanese people all the time and shit, right? What is something that you have came in contact with is like, bro, I can't deal with it. These people are, or in a good, it don't have to be negative. I
mean, the good, I'll start with the good, because I think I get a bad rap of always complaining about Japan. Like I was actually hanging out with Cam and them at the barbecue last week. And, you know, I'll have a famous rant that I go on about why I don't eat ramen. And,
what?
And so I think like Cam's wife was like, man, I don't want to hear you complain about ramen for the 5th time. So I'm going to start off with something positive about Japan. So I think like number one, like I said, it's safety. Like I don't have to worry, I don't have to look over my shoulder. Like I remember like being in Detroit, like there's still certain stuff that I do. Like if I go into a restaurant, I never have my back to the door. I'm always like, I want to look at the.
I still do that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's just hardwired.
I don't like that.
Cause I don't like feeling like somebody about to rob this bitch. You know what I mean? Like I gotta.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Split second.
Yeah, that split second could be everything. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of times you just process things on a different level where you're just staying frosty. You know what I'm saying? Like you make sure you're on point. But here, I mean, I don't have to be on point here. And that's such a beautiful thing. Like I really, really like that. But one thing I don't like, I feel like is, and people that I guess that speak Japanese can understand this, but there's like a verticality in the language of Japanese. Whereas how you refer to yourself, for example, like in English, it's always like I, you, me. What like it's standard across the board.
Right.
Like everybody's talking about pronouns in the States and all that shit. I don't mean like that, but but like here it's like you have to reference yourself, like how you refer to me changes depending on who you're talking to and what their relation is to you.
Right.
Are they considered above you or not?
Sacho or
Yeah, your shacho or even your senpai, like even somebody that's like older than you or whatever. You have to consider these relationships and where your standing is. And so like it can be stifling and it can actually be kind of an impediment for like direct communication. And sometimes like in business and stuff like that, you need to be able to speak your mind. Even if it's like, even if you're the low man on the totem pole, you might have some input. But here it's just like, if you're the low man, don't speak. You know, they have a saying here that says like a nail that sticks out gets hammered. You know what I'm saying? So you just kind of like, even if you know the shit's about to go left, you just shut up because it's not your mistake to make. Oh, wow. But I remember one of the first experiences that I had with this was when I was in college. Like I was in college in Tochigi. Tochigi is like in the countryside up north for those who don't know. But, you know, most of my friends, like my Japanese wasn't very good and I was talking with my friends, so I was learning this very casual, short style Japanese, like, ore da yo, ore ga, omae da, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I remember I was in class and a lot of times, you know, I wouldn't understand a lot of the things that were being said in class. It'd be like what they say in Japanese, migi kata hidari, which is like from right to left, in one ear, out the other, right? So after class, I remember I was talking to my Japanese teacher about like something that she had said, and I was like, you know, like saki omae wa, and then before I could even get the fucking sentence out, bro, she cut me off. Her face was so red because the pronoun that I used to refer to her was like putting her on my level or below me. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like I had to be like anata because if you say kimi, if you say omae, she was pissed, and she didn't let me get my question off, and then she went and complained to my handlers about it, and they had to talk to me about it, and it was like after that, bro, I didn't even want to ask no questions in that bitch. Like I didn't want to say nothing because it's like she wasn't even listening to the question. I was trying to learn.
On pedestal before you even.
Facts. I'm like, bro, I just got here. On my name. Yeah, I'm like, bro, I didn't mean no disrespect. I just got here. Right. You know what I'm saying? So like, they expected me to be operating on the same frequency as everybody else, and I felt like it's an impediment. So I think one of the things that I don't like about here is that people don't directly communicate. Like if I go over to your house and I'm hot, and in America I'm like, man, cut the air on, bro. Like it's hot the motherfucker in here. That's normal. Here it's like, if I'm hot, I'm gonna be like, and then you have to see that I'm kind of like uncomfortable, and you, hey man, are you hot?
Very
I can turn off the air for you.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, well it's called like high context. It's high context communication. We're very low context. You know, like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Right. Closed mouths don't get fed. Yeah. This is the type of communication style that we use. So and it's not rude to say how you feel. Right. But here it's like you have to read the tea leaves.
Read the room.
Read the room. It's called like kuki omeru, like you can read the air, right? So someone that can't read the air, they say it's KY or kuki omenaito. Like you can't read the air means somebody that doesn't understand the minutia of interpersonal
what's
communication.
Going on.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that's me a lot of times. I'm just gonna say what I want to, like, hey, do the shit, right?
Yeah, facts.
I do notice that a lot with being here in Japan, like they won't straight up come tell you. You know what I mean? Yeah, they'll tell somebody else. If I'm in the store with a Japanese person or whatever, right? And if I speak to this person, they won't even speak to me. They'll speak to the person I'm with. It's like, yo, I'm standing right here. Am I invisible or something? That's one thing I really never understood here, you know, but.
Yeah, they won't even look at you.
Yeah, like, they won't.
I remember my homegirl, she's a doctor, so she travels around a lot on her free time. And she's from Michigan, but she's actually like Vietnamese American. So when I was taking her around Japan, you know, I'm showing her around. You know, so when I go to the restaurants, I'm ordering, I'm this, that, and the other. But whenever, like, even though I'm talking to them, even in proper Japanese, they look to her. And they won't even like look at me even though I'm talking to them. And I'm like, she's not even Japanese. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, they do definitely disregard you if you're a foreigner. So that can be dissettling for some people. But for me, as like a black person, I feel like in America, although it's home, it never felt like home for me. It always felt like I'm kind of a visitor. Because when people in a textbook, they have pictures of Americans, they ain't look like me. Nah. You know what I'm saying? And when people think of the American dream or people that are described as all American, they ain't talking about me. So, you know, I've always felt like a second-rate citizen in that way. So if society is an airplane, I feel like in America, you know, we're like in the cargo hold maybe, you know, or whatever. Like we're just happy to be on the plane, right? Whereas here, it's like I'm in economy plus. which is like, I'm enjoying the guava nectar and what I got going on.
Right.
But a lot of white folks, I feel like, that come here have an inverse issue where they're struggling because they went from first class and now they're in economy plus with my black ass. And they're like, where the fuck are my orange juice mimosas?
Right.
And like that
shit don't fly here, dog.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
Because they're like second rate here. And that's a big adjustment for them. But it's not as big as an adjustment for me because I feel like that's how I grew up.
I ain't got bullets flying over my head. I'm cool.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to worry about that. I have no ops.
Right.
I'm chilling.
I ain't got no ops.
No ops, bro. Like,
my biggest op is Tanaka-san over here is mean mugging me like, all right, whatever.
So I can't even do shit but tell on me. He ain't about to spin the block. You know what I'm saying? So I can deal with that. That's a fact.
Oh, man. So with us being here, right? This black community here. You remember some time ago, that was Zoe, right? He had his whole ordeal in the train. You remember that?
Yeah.
So with that with the police stopping him, and they do that, I know it's a lot goes on in Tokyo over there in Roppongi, right? Like, what's your outlook on that and how that transpires?
I think for those that are uninitiated, I guess there was a half, or I'd say double culture kid, right? Black, Caribbean, and Japanese. But he very much looks like a man of color. But he speaks perfect Japanese because he grew up here.
Right.
I had an international school background, so he can speak English. Constantly being harassed. Actually, at the time, he was actually staying with me.
Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Yep.
So he was actually on his way to my house, and he had been stopped maybe 3 or 4 times in like a couple of months. Just randomly, like a random search. But I think it's because he had dreadlocks and stuff like that, and they basically told him to his face that you look like somebody that would have drugs, because in our experience, they have dread hair, they kind of look like you, and they thought that was a justified reason. And so he kind of got fed up with it and was kind of asking them questions, and he was actually recording them, and it actually ended up going viral. I think Vice News picked it up and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, that to me, it's not like a surprise or anything. Like, I think, like, black people have contributed a lot to the world, but I think that we have really bad PR. Because I think that, like, sometimes people distill blackness down to like the lowest common denominator of things that they can understand. So like, people might look at, I don't know, a gangster movie, or they'll look at the ratchetest hip hop, and then they'll say that's what it means to be black. And it's like, no.
Nah, it's not.
Right, but I think a lot of the black contributions, a lot of the things that we've done for society aren't necessarily heralded or exalted in a way. Like, it's kind of made like
swept under the rug.
Swept under the rug or try to be minimalized. And I think that that's in part why you see things like that, because people have such a low opinion about what it means to be a black person or what black people are about.
I think that the social media does it. I mean, people hear of Japan, they see, right, us on whatever's going on, right, in the news, or just, for example, the Alabama shit, right?
Sure.
At the, what is it, the Tea Party or whatever they call it.
Oh,
right?
the brawling Bama or whatever.
So it's
like that.
So they look at that, it's like, damn, is that how they act? Or they see us, on a music video. And
but what do you mean? Like, but that guy got attacked, right?
Yeah, he got attacked.
But is that how we act? That's how anybody attacks if they're getting fucking 6 people trying to beat the shit out of you. Exactly. Yeah, you're trying to defend yourself. So yeah, I would hope so. Does that make? Do you think that reflected badly on black people?
I don't think so, but I everybody has their own opinion about things, right? And I feel like in that light, yeah, some bad could have came out of that, of somebody like, oh, well, they're fighting, But I think a person of that maybe thinks narrow-minded, and I'm not saying Japanese people think narrow-minded. Everybody has their own, opinion on things,
sure.
But like, I don't like how a picture gets painted about us. You know what I mean? In that light.
Well,
right?
you gotta be happy that it was recorded, right?
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, the narrative would have been different.
Yeah, it would have.
They would have painted them like, oh, the guy was hitting people with chairs and they're savages.
Threw his hat up, like gang. I don't know, but
yeah, it would have been a different experience. But luckily now, people can control their own narrative and put the stuff out there, unedited and raw, so you can see exactly from start to finish what exactly happened, and have someone kind of narrated it. Right. Like, this person was working for this company, asked these people this is how they responded, and this was what transpired. And I think that's nothing to do with blackness, but that's everything to do with a human response. Whether it be whatever color. If you saw some of your compatriots or friends being attacked unfairly, of course you're about to jump in.
And
yeah, you're not gonna let your friend, because your friend could die. You know what I mean? You can get beat to death.
Right.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a life or death situation. So yeah, absolutely. That'd be my response.
Understood. Yeah. So what's coming up for you, man? Next. What's in the new future?
What's coming up next? I think I'm trying to transition into making dollars because this yen is some bullshit. For those who don't know, this yen is some bullshit. It's lost. It's at a 50-year low, damn near, right? So it's lost about 40% of its value. And if anybody that actually buys products in dollars and sells products domestically here in Japan, it has had a horrible effect, an adverse effect on business. So that's probably that's what's next. For me.
Next move.
Yeah, getting away from this monopoly money. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really know because income is in dollars.
I know you know because for those of you that don't know, so Cordell, he used to have another shop, and he used to accept yen. And there was no problem. And then the yen started being some bullshit. And then
I quit that shit a long time.
And he was like, yeah, we only accepting dollars now. And I was like, man, I don't even know where I would get some dollars from. So, but yeah, it's so I know you know. Yeah. This is some bullshit.
Yeah. Bruh, I think I need to make this like a point, man.
Yeah.
So recently, we went through something together, and we came out scathed, right? About getting this driver's license thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
With like, whoa, what the hell?
That's a fact.
So, man, there's more people coming to Japan every day, right?
Sure.
And, you know, people want to drive eventually if they do choose to. And everybody's situation is different, but I want to make this a point. This place has given me and you the blues numerous of times. And I don't know about you, dog, but when I got them L's, dog, I almost shed a tear, bro.
I remember because you was going through it,
bruh. I think it's been like maybe 2-3 years. But yeah, man. What was your experience with that?
We're trying to get your license here.
Yeah.
Mine, I don't think was as bad as yours. But there's a lot of red tape, and it's kind of actually similar to the experience that I think that I had when I was getting my permanent residence, where I kept having to go back and forth. They're very, and by they I mean like the Japanese bureaucracy, are very by the book, and they have very strict regulations about everything. So I remember they give me a laundry list of documents that I had to get, and so while I'm getting the documents, you know, I'm not paying attention to what order I'm getting them in. I'm just getting them as I can get them as soon as I can, kind of thing. And some things end up taking a longer time. So one of the things that you needed was like your what's called your juminyo, which is kind of like your residence certificate that you get at your local ward office. Right. And in the little paper, I didn't realize that it said it had to be within 3 months. So by the time I ended up collecting all the documents, it took me longer than 3 months. So it was like 3.5 months. But because I was like 2 weeks over, they wouldn't accept my document. And they told me I had to go back to get another one. And I think that was that bullshit, first of all, because when you're setting up, even getting an appointment, it takes, like when you call, I think we called around the same time. Yeah. So we ended up getting it on the same day.
Like 140 times, literally.
But it was like we called in like October, and they were like, we can get you in January. And I'm like, by then all my documents are gonna be out, so I have to like re-get them again. I'm like, yo, it actually triggers me. I try not to think about it, so I don't even know why you got me talking about this, because it makes me, like, you're talking about crying, but it gives me PTSD, man. Right. Because it was like terrible. And there's like, you can call the number, and you can't make an appointment online. You have to call. And I remember waiting at 8:59 until it became 9 o'clock to like call, like on the dot, and I just like kept redialing to see if I could get in, and it took me a few days.
Right.
It's all in Japanese, and it's in like the honorific and Keigo. It's like they're not. Yeah, it's terrible. It's not my favorite.
Oh man, I don't mean to cut you off, man, but you gotta pay some bills real quick.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Pro Shield. Pro Shield is your #1 shea glaze. This will get you oiled up, greased up, get your hair, get your skin right. When he walked in, he was like, "Man, what you got on, bro?"
The nigga was shining. Right. He was shining. The nigga was damn near beautiful. And I was like, yo, why are you sparkling? Like he was a Twilight vampire.
That damn Tyler Perry movie.
This nigga was sparkling like a fucking Twilight vampire. I said, what's going on? He said, that Pro shit. I said, you can use that on your skin? He said, hell yeah. I said, man, look, listen, I might give me some of that.
Man, but shout out to Pro Shield. It can be bought here at Foreign Cut. So y'all get on down here, get you a can while we still got them, man. But yeah, shout out to Pro Shield.
Yes, sir.
You already know what it is.
I appreciate you, OG.
Yep.
I'll keep this one.
So that's a used batch, but I got another one I can give you. That's a new batch. I done did a little, tweaking to it, but yeah, it's legit for sure.
Yeah, how'd you get the idea for this? If you don't mind me asking.
Man, ashy. The nigga was ashy.
He was. That 2019.
Yeah, I think it was ashy.
Yeah, you came up after this came out. He hasn't been ashy since. So that's a fact.
Oh man, for sure. But once again, man, we're a little bit short on time, but I appreciate you coming through.
Absolutely.
We always had good talks, man.
You know
So, you're always welcome, man. Come
yeah, man, I appreciate it, OG.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's been another episode of Chopping It Up Raw. I'm your host, Abdul the Barber. Any shout outs before we go?
Shout out to everybody, man. If you got a pulse and you living your life and you're doing you, shout out to you.
You woke up this morning.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people don't, and that's a blessing for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely a blessing. But anyway, y'all already know what it is. Foreign Cuts Forever.
Yes,
Catch
sir.
y'all next.